city.
It's like a roller coaster.
Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield has been the bane of my existence recently. I mean, who knew that all you had to do to tear a fanbase apart was simply not give a shit? From the National Dex removal, to the Mega Evolution removal, to the contests removal, to the Triple Battles removal, to the Walking Pokemon removal, there were a lot of removals, alright? I really didn't want to support Game Freak or the Pokemon Company this time around after seeing what I had seen, so I thought, hey, I won't pre-order them or anything, I'll just get them secondhand or something. But then I thought, will I get that sweet YouTube cash money if I don't do it on time? I mean, it could be a few days, a few weeks, before I even find a copy, let alone get it delivered to my house. So here it is, Pokemon Shield. Yes, I am part of the problem. But why is there a problem? Why is this game one of the most controversial games of all time? Well, I'll tell you, in this very video. Stick around. Well, so you might have realized that while it was my intention to film, edit, and upload a video as quickly as possible, it's been a fair while, hasn't it? That's because I had to be a special snowflake and do a Nuzlocke. It wasn't the whole reason, but yes, it was part of the problem. If you're unfamiliar with a Nuzlocke, it's basically a self-enforced set of rules to make the game harder. The main three being, if a Pokemon faints, it's dead. Put it in the box, can't be used again. You can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter in each route, not including the ones before you obtain any Pokeballs. And lastly, if you lose to a trainer, game over. Restart the entire game. But more on that later. Let's get started with the beginning of the game, the bit where it asks what gender you are, and which of the 4 identical faces you want to pick. Listen, sorry to be a negative Nancy already, but how hard would it have been for Game Freak for their big switch outing to add in a simple character creator? One of these young strapping lads is meant to be me, right? Well, I have long hair, so instantly I can't relate on the level that they want me to. Unless they want me to relate to them on skin color? Shit, Sonic Forces had a character creator for crying out loud. You add an eye color, skin color, haircut, and hair color option, and then bam, instant improvement. And it wouldn't even take that long to implement, seeing as those options are already in the game. Just as a disclaimer for basically this whole video, I'm not upset or angry at the lower class workers at Game Freak, you know, the people who you have to code in the new Pokemon, or the artists, the designers, the route level people. Yeah, you know, not upset at any of those. You know, there's a lot of jobs there where I'm sure they're doing what they can to the best of their ability in the small time frame they had. I'm more upset at the ones calling the shots, you know, the higher ups, the ones like, you know, creating shortcuts in order to save a few dollar bills. Arr, I gotta get me money for me Krusty Krab. Just keep that in mind while I go through this. Thank you to everyone at Game Freak who are working their hardest while this is all going on. But those rich bastards at the top shaving bits off the Pokédex and rushing production? Well, you can just jog on, mates. I'd also like to point out that, literally minutes after I'd finished this gargantuan script, there was a Pokemon Direct, and I've opted to mostly leave out that information until the very end of the video, unless I contradict myself or unless I thought there was something I could talk about, such as, well, I won't say because it will be coming up in the video. So the game starts off without an introduction from the professor, instead opting in for a YouTube video. Guess they wanted the extra ad revenue, those greedy sons of bitches. Is that a fucking mouse cursor? At first I thought it was part of the cutscene, you know, seeing as this is a website and all, but then the mouse just vanishes suddenly. It doesn't click play on the video or anything, just... I really hope that was intentional. The introduction's being done this time by the president of something, I've forgotten because it's not memorable in the slightest. Anyway, he explains to the crowd of Galarians all about the region of Galar. Maybe the intro could have been a little more thought out. I'm pretty sure these people know Pokemon exist, dude. They're here to see a Pokemon battle. The suave man's name is Chairman Rose, and he'll be our villain for this evening. Yep, it's that obvious. It's actually one of the first things I wrote in my script. It's right there. And I just, what did I expect? I took one look at his Hunger Games ass beard and it was all over, baby. This cutscene tries its hardest to put us in the mood, to get us all excited to start our Pokemon adventure, but I'll be honest, it comes off cheap. Really cheap. Despite this being the Nintendo generation where every other game is making a huge effort to reach high levels of quality, Pokemon doesn't even bother with any voice acting. Hey, I get it. Pokemon has never had any voice acting. I know. But Pokemon has never had cutscenes like this either. They have Rose mouthing nothing at us while people scream and cheer in the background, and you can hear all the sound effects and Pokemon noises. It doesn't seem right. In previous games, the intro cutscene was mostly a static image of the professor on a white background, basically, and there was only a few sound effects here and there, like a Pokeball bounce or a Cincino scream to name a few. Now they have a fully animated cutscene with literally every sound effect under the sun, and only one missing. The voices. But not the crowd's voices. Because everyone in the Galar region has a voice except for Rose here. Reminds me of that one cutscene in Sonic Generations where the Eggmans are meant to be arguing with each other from afar so we can't hear their voices, but for some reason we can still hear their footsteps.
You were the one who said you saw a door over here. Well, I know it was one of us. Shut up and keep looking.
Even Zelda got voice acting this time. For fuck's sake, Black and White 2 had more voice acting than this game. Elisa's gym, you know? Are you ready? And Roxy singing. The P-O-K-E-M-O-N! Pokemon! Also, not kidding around, that singer has the cutest voice ever. Give the Japanese version a listen when you can. In fact, give the whole soundtrack a listen. Just fucking...
Play the game already! Play the game already!
Once that's over, the game really starts off, presenting us with pretty much what every other Pokemon game's done since inception. Meet with rival, get starter Pokemon, start gym badge collecting adventure. I thought for a while the Pokemon games were going to try introducing our starters in different ways. Emerald had us save a professor, Platinum had us steal them, but ever since Black and White they've always been a gift, no exceptions. A bit disappointing if you ask me. Our rival this time is called How. He's actually called Hop, but he is so similar to How in every way I was accidentally calling him that up until the 4th gym. I mean, look, he even moves similarly. Wow, what a coincidence. That's definitely not a copied animation. Also, turns out he came over here to get big, thick. I thought it was funny at the time. So it turns out that How's brother, Leon, the champion of the Galar region... I said How again, didn't I? Hop's brother, Leon, the champion of the Galar region, is visiting home and has a present for us. Oh boy, I wonder what it could be! It's a fireplace that's built into the house. It keeps things warm in the harshest winter. And I'm sure it would be used a lot more if Game Freak hadn't removed Seasons 3 generations ago. Of course, we're doing a Nuzlocke, so I'll be changing the battle style to set, meaning I won't be given the option to switch my Pokemon out every time I KO one of the opponent's Pokemon. I mean, even if you're not doing a Nuzlocke, you should change this option here anyway. It'll prepare you a little better for the online play. You also get a few more options here which haven't been in previous games, like autosave, which if you're saving to an SD card, it'll corrupt the files on it, forcing you to re-download everything on it all over again. Oops. Casual controls, if you want to play one-handed like in Pokemon Let's Go. Monstrosity, I'm sure I'll speak about one day. An option to skip movies, which skips about 3 whole cutscenes in the entire game, so no, this will not make subsequent playthroughs any more tolerable, trust me, I have a lot of experience with this. And some X and Y controls for the camera, which in itself only works in one small section of the game. That's right, folks, incredibly restricted camera control in my 2019 Switch game from a company with so much money they're fucking drowning in it. Oh, bloody hells, I hear you saying. Are there any options you don't find infuriating? Well, yes, I'm glad you asked. You can actually speed the text up, like in every Pokemon game. Although, actually, I mean, why is it fast the default? I mean, we all switch to it, you know we do. You know what I will say, though? The area around my house here, the house itself, looks quite nice. Nothing mind-blowing, but it's pleasant. No problems there. We meet Hop in another cutscene down the steps because heavens forbid I take 2 steps by myself. And off we go. Our Pokemon adventure awaits. Are you actually... Are you fucking kidding me? Hey, I get it. I get it. Poppin' happens. Sometimes a console struggles to keep up with what's happening on screen. Or the game just isn't optimized properly, leading sometimes to graphical problems, like the odd texture popping into existence after a camera cut or something. But this isn't that. That kind of popping will stay after it appears. So this is intentional. This is what you'd see back in Superman 64 if they hadn't fogged up the whole place. Heck, game devs back in the PS1 and N64 eras were trying their very best to fit as much shit on the screen as they could without slowing down the performance. They turned textures into models as you got closer. Models would switch to a lower polygonal version if you got a certain distance away from them. Shit like that. That's what this is, isn't it? Like, we've all seen the triple battles back in X and Y, etc. Yeah, we know that Game Freak ain't the best at optimization, but that was on the 3DS. With the future-proof models that they have, sure, I understand, they're big models with a lot of polygons, maybe too much for the 3DS to handle that many at once. This is the Switch, though. It can run Smash Bros at 60 FPS without any frame drops. Meanwhile, Pokemon can't even get a small crowd on the screen without it tanking. What are they doing over there? It not only looks bad, but it's actively taking me out of the experience. I can't. Forget it. Forget that the sheep is now flashing. What? So here I am in Hop's house. Looks like the champion is a big fan of his hentai. Wow. Our choice of starters this time is Grookey, the green monkey, Scorbunny, the white bunny, and Sobble, the thing. It was a tough choice because I disliked them all so equally, but in the end I went with Grookey. Called him Pistachio. Hop picked Sobble because I guess they want this game to be even easier than normal. That's just silly. The last rival to do that was... Hang on a second. I will say, however, that compared to the other starters, which have been cut from the game because of course they have, Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble are far more expressive in their animation specifically. Wow. I really like how Scorbunny actually runs up to its opponent and kicks them. That's a really neat animation. Now, if that love and care could be put into every other animation in the game, now that'd be really something to talk about. Scorbunny ends up going with Leon, much like how the remaining starter ends up with Kukui in Sun and Moon. Did they just edit the Sun and Moon script? Actually, the similarities to Sun and Moon in this game don't end there. Like, they are scarily close. Generally speaking, they've ditched the old gym style in favor of something slightly different. They've taken away older mechanics and implemented a gimmick which will be forgotten by the next game. Unless Let's Go Mareep and Marill comes out soon, maybe then they'll sneak in a Z move or two. Hop is basically How, Leon is essentially Kukui in more ways than one. There's a mean rival who ends up redeeming himself one way or the other. There's a good guy who turns bad guy. There are bad guys that turn good guys. The evil team this time are just troublemakers without a real plan. I could go on. Sorry for spoiling the whole Chairman Rose thing, but honestly, you knew he was a villain from the moment you set eyes on the bastard. Don't give me that shit. I saw it straight away and I'm a fucking moron. So we battle Hop. Yeah, he's even got some squash and stretch going on. Why can't Pokemon be animated like him? Hop has a really nice theme to go with his battles. In fact, the majority of the music in this game, specifically the battle themes, are really, really good. I'm talking some of the best music we've heard in Pokemon so far. Actually, they've been knocking it out of the park recently. You know, Howl's battle theme, Gladion's battle theme, the Kahuna battle theme, Zinnia's battle theme, the Team Magma / Aqua leader theme, Diantha! Whew, that was a hard one. Hop has 2 Pokemon for the first fight instead of the regular 1. And at first I thought this might prove a bit of a bigger challenge than usual until I realized the point of the second Pokemon was to fatten you up so you could take out a starter with a new move. I also thought I got lucky with a critical hit on my second turn, but then on my second playthrough I got another one at the same time. And then I asked someone else and they also had a critical hit there as well. And I bet anyone who thought they got lucky there is now also disappointed. You're very welcome. I mean, it's a tutorial battle, so it makes sure you know about, regular moves, critical hits, and super effective moves. So it does that well, I guess. I just like being a grumpy old man. In this region, you can't just start the gym challenge whenever you like. Instead, you need to get endorsed by someone. Hop and I get endorsed by the champion right away, and so there goes any semblance of differentiation. I thought I was going to need to earn it or something for a second there. Bede gets endorsed by the chairman, and I'm assuming Marnie was endorsed by... I guess she was endorsed by a gym leader. That'll come up later, by the way. They never actually tell us who exactly can endorse you, or if they do, I wasn't paying attention, or that information might have been secretly hidden away like the sound options. What were they thinking? You can't even change them in a town, so I just forgot about them. It was only my second playthrough I realized they just add them to the options menu. I thought you had to use the item for fuck's sake. But before we can start our gym challenge, it looks like a Wooloo has wandered into the slumbering weald. Ooh, how spooky. Is that how you say weald? Wald? Hop wants to go in and save it because apparently dangerous Pokemon live there. Oh, shit! To be honest, I think the Wooloo kind of deserves it. After all, it was trying to desperately get in. Like, who's to say it won't just do this immediately again afterwards? Fuck, how far did we walk? Fog just doesn't roll in like this, Oh, wait, England. After my first wild Pokemon battle, doesn't count for the Nuzlocke because I can't catch anything yet because I got no balls. That came out wrong. We head further into the woods. Or Hop heals my Pokemon. Seriously, dude, I took Actually, I didn't take any damage at all. Why are you wasting my time? As we wander further in, the mist gets thicker and thicker, and I mean, that's great for me, that's right up my alley. But soon enough, we run into the legendary on the box. It's him! It's kind of him! Yeah, he's looking a little malnourished here. In fact, so much our attacks just phase right through him like he's not even there. In fact, while we're talking about the legendary, this box art is rubbish. Out of everything they could have gone with for the box art, this is what they go with. It's boring, it's bland, and I wish they'd just stop with this sort of thing. I mean, I don't like Ultra Suns and Ultra Moons any more than these two, but at the very least they had a proper background. I would much prefer a proper artwork with lots of detail rather than a stock image of the legendary Pokemon every time. And while we're on the topic of boxes, we don't need two versions of the same game anymore. We never really did, but it's been so successful, and because it's Pokemon, it's kind of just been brushed under the rug by the majority of fans. Heck, many of them buy the double pack, no discount or anything, just two of the same game together in a pack. Do you even know what you get in the other versions? About 15 different Pokemon, plus their evolutions, and 2 different gym leaders. That's it. No, really. You're paying an extra $60 for the same game, which in my opinion isn't even worth $60 in the first place. Could you imagine if Game Freak had made this DLC instead of a whole nother version? The Sword expansion for $60? Unlock 15 new but mostly old Pokemon and fight 2 new gym leaders. People would go fucking bananas. You can't even use the excuse that you'll have an extra save file this time around because you can have as many as you want this time. And not because the game actually supports multiple save files, you're still going to make an extra account, but still, you're crazy, all of you. Anyway, we both get knocked out. Wait, if we fainted, then does that mean the Nuzlocke's over?
Can you see?
Charizard eyes up a woolly snack. Mum calls me her little big thick, that's one for the books. And I'm off on my Pokemon adventure. Damn it, Hop, I know, whatever you're gonna say, I know! I still don't have any Pokeballs, so no catching yet, I'm afraid. But I do, however, get to see the Tail Whip animation Game Freak was so proud of. They thought this was a selling point. So basically, the way battle animations work in this game is, depending on whether the move is special or physical, each Pokemon has one animation for each, with the game adding an extra special flair on top for each of them, such as Tail Whip's turnaround. Okay, so let's say I'm a Pokemon, and I've got 2 animations, one for physical and one for special. So let's say my physical one is for Scratch or Mega Punch, is like this. Simple enough, right? It'll look good. But even when I'm using moves like Karate Chop or Flying Kick or whatever, I'll still do that move. Like, for example, Fire Punch will just be with like those little extra flames. That's how the special effect works. That's how they get away with all that, because every move looks different, but it's actually just got a extra special effect over the top. For example, if I use my special move, let's say for special moves like Water Gun or Thunderbolt is this, I don't know why I would make a noise. Then every time I do Water Gun or Thunderbolt, I'll do that animation. For status moves, they don't have their own animation, so they just use the special move animation and expect it to look good. See, it just doesn't work. Don't even get me started on moves like Double Kick or fucking Beat Up. Hey, see this gap? We soon meet up with the professor's granddaughter Sonia, but let's be honest, they shoved the old woman aside with such a vigor it was obvious that Sonia was going to take over the position eventually anyhow, even to the dullest of folks. And she installs the Pokédex on our Rotom phone. Yet another similarity to Sun and Moon. And speaking of the Pokédex, it's about time to get into that whole shit show. For one reason or another, money! The higher-ups at Game Freak decided to chop the Pokédex in half for this game, with no way to transport older Pokemon to it in the future. First of all, their excuse they gave about having to remake the models? Complete bullshit, being proven before the games were even released. This is either A, because they were rushing the shit out of this game and didn't want to spend any extra money to hire any more employees to finish all the Pokemon on time, or B, they're trying to get you to pay for a subscription to Pokemon Home, which will essentially be the new Pokemon Bank with a few more features, so they can keep your old Pokemon hostage until they deem it acceptable to put a few of them in future games. And by the way, they're refusing to update Sword and Shield with the missing Pokemon, so B is the only logical answer. For fuck's sake, somebody's already hacked in a Pokemon which wasn't even hidden away in the files, which some are, like Squirtle and Bulbasaur. Heck, from what I've seen, Lunala is there with its special move just ready to go. It's a big fuck you to your fans, especially when Game Freak is pushing the trope that your Pokemon are special to you, and that's why you should use your favorites. The only reason they're telling us that is so we buy a subscription to Pokemon Home. And for you future people out there, if it turns out that it's not a subscription-based service, then I'll be bloody surprised if there isn't some sort of microtransaction bullshit going on. Just for fun, I've compiled a list of some of my favorite Pokemon that I can no longer obtain in any way in Sword and Shield, forever. Sandshrew and Sandslash, Igglybuff, Jigglypuff, and Wigglytuff, Poliwag, I just like Poliwag, the Slowpoke line, yes I know it's back in, this was before the DLC, okay, just making that clear, fucking Lickitung, I love Lickitung, Dratini and Dragonair, Sentret and Furret, it looks like Furret will just have to keep on walking until the next game, if they put him in the next one that is, the Mareep line, Marill and Azumarill, the Hoppip line, really? Really? Apom? I don't care much for Ambipom, but I like Apom. Misdreavus and Mismagius, Girafarig, Slugma, Magcargo, Miltank. Actually, ever since Miltank went 3D, it kind of creeps me out. Poochiena and Mightyena, the Wurmple line, Shroomish and Breloom. No Skitty, seriously. Zangoose is gone too, he was a good one. No Chimecho, no Chingling, are they fucking mad? Spheal! How could they? Well, I don't even know how Salamence didn't get in, I guess they're saving him for the next one. Shieldon and Bastiodon! Are you fucking kidding me? The literal Shield Pokemon didn't make it into Pokemon Shield! Garchomp's gone too, next game, I promise you. I actually really like Tangrowth, but I feel like I'll be the only one mourning him today. The Lillipup line, really? It's based on a Yorkshire Terrier, for fuck's sake, an English dog. Fuck me, Game Freak. Scolipede, the Swaddle line, the Sandile line, Zoroark, Bean Shao. I hope that's the way you say that. It's another favorite of mine. Volcarona. Oh god, Gen 6. Klefki, I guess? They didn't put in Lurantis. Yeah, sure, put in Thick Thighs over there, but just skip over the superior Gen 7 Grass-type Pokemon. As you might be able to tell, I'm fond of many different Pokemon. The fact that there are literally less than half of all Pokemon in these two games is just astonishing to me. And weirdly enough, they missed out on so many British-inspired Pokemon, it's fucking mind-boggling. I've already talked about Lillipup, Herdia, and Stoutland, but maybe Snubble? English Bulldog? Swanna? Maybe? You know, for the Queen's fucking Swans? I know that previous gens didn't have a full deck centered around the region they were based on, you know, there was no Baguette Pokemon in X and Y, and I'm sure there were some Pokemon excluded that would be a perfect fit in France, but in previous gens, the Pokemon weren't limited to the regional decks. In any other Pokemon game, if I wanted something I thought would fit, I could go and fucking trade it over. I would have rather have had them just reboot Pokemon entirely and give us an all-new set than have this shit. Oh, and almost forgot, they tried to keep this a complete secret from their Japanese audience. Needless to say, they weren't feeling good about that. And to whoever started the thank you Game Freak tag on Twitter, I get what you were going for, I think. The workers over there definitely deserve a pat on the back, assuming they're as overworked as I think they are, but all this hashtag did was give the higher-ups the go-ahead they've been waiting for. The sign saying, hey guys, you can literally release whatever shit you want now because people will shill for you no matter what you do. Any excuses they've given us have either been lies or just pathetic. I miss Generation 5 Game Freak. Back when they gave a shit. Back when they had the idea to make a sequel instead of a half-baked update and sell it all over again. Not that any of what I'm saying matters. This game, I'll say like it's a singular thing because it is, sold incredibly well. Of course it did. Fuck, I can't say I helped. Maybe I can change some of your minds anyway. What I'd like to know is how other Nintendo developers feel about this. The devs who put so much passion, hard work, and time into each game to make it as perfect as it can be. How do they feel about this? How does Nintendo feel? I doubt anything will happen. If anything, it'll be thanks to the Japanese fanbase, not the American or British, European, you know. It's kind of like in Final Fantasy XIV. They swear they're cracking down hard on bots farming gil, and oh, they are in the Japanese servers. But in the American servers, oh boy, that is horrifying. Occasionally you'll just see them flying over the hills, just unbound by the laws of physics. Anyway, Pokemon. I just got the Pokédex, so that's pretty cool. I head back to Route 1 so I can catch my very first Pokemon. Well, second, I guess. Remember, I'm only allowed to catch the very first Pokemon I encounter in that route. If it faints or I run away, there's no do-overs. And it's a Nickit, a Dark-type fox-looking thing. Call her Saxophone. Don't know why, and that's that. You might have already noticed the Pokemon wandering around in the tall grass. It's the same way wild battles were handled in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and well, call me an old stick in the mud, but I wish there was an option, and I repeat, just an option, to turn it back to the old style. I just feel like the surprise is kind of ruined for me when I can see most of the Pokemon that'll be appearing right away. You can run into these exclamation point rustling patches to initiate a battle as well, but it's not really the same. Usually it'll be a Pokemon that doesn't actually appear in the overworld though, so at least that's something. However, it kind of negates the whole point of Pokemon being in the overworld if you can't see them all and you have to rely on RNG anyway. It does make the world seem somewhat inhabited by Pokemon, but the render distance breaks the immersion so much it feels almost pointless. I was debating to myself whether or not I would catch the first Pokemon I see instead of actually touch, but I figured that there's probably a lot of Pokemon that don't show up in the overworld, as I said before, and yeah, there turned out to be actually a surprising amount of them. If I'd stuck to only catching the very first Pokemon I saw, I'd have never caught Pokemon like Phalanx or Stunfisk. Some Pokemon also have distinct movements, which are pretty neat, like some will run after you and attempt to fight you, others will run around just randomly, and others might run away from you, or even attempt to trap you. Route 2! Oh, wait, hang on, there's a town in between the two routes, isn't there? I forgot about it. So, Wedgehurst, the first town. It's a little odd that you don't start out in a town yourself, but it's so close to your house anyway, it doesn't really matter. That's actually another weird issue I have here. Humans and houses have all been scaled to realistic proportions, but the routes between towns are still as small as ever, really. So, in fact, some towns are so small you wonder why it's even called a town in the first place. You know what, if you let me leap ahead a bit, the largest town, no, city in the Galar region is smaller than the largest city in the Kalos region. Wait, did I say Kalos? Sorry, I mean Unova. You know, the one on Nintendo DS. But hey, more on that later. Wedgehurst has a variety of buildings, like the train station, the Pokemon Lab, the Pokemon Center, a clothing shop, and like 2 houses, I think. Okay, I just checked and it turns out that there is only a singular house in Wedgehurst. The other building I thought was a house was a berry shop. So there's a total of 1 customer for the train station, a Pokemon Center, a clothing shop, and a berry shop. And I also found out that apparently the location our house is in is called Postwick. Not a town, a location. But that's really odd, at least to me. Could the house have not just been on Route 1? Anyway, I did go and buy some berries and clothes in Wedgehurst. 1 black hat, a shuckle shirt, some yellow pants, and some white loafers later. Bam! Mildly different costume. There, of course, isn't a hair salon in this town, so we can't change our hair, but on we go. Route 2. What amazing new Pokemon designs await us. Oh, how hard is that? So because it was the first Pokemon we encountered on Route 2, Abomination has joined the team. I hope he faints soon. To whoever designed him, what? Why just stretch his head? Then the game proceeded to zoom in on the small child. I would say that this action was somewhat suspicious, but I think it was just amazed at how the child managed to will himself into existence in the blink of an eye. So youngster Jake Paul challenges us to a battle, and we're treated to a brand new battle opener. A battle opener which seems to lower the frame rate. Is that just me? It happens every single time a battle begins, so I'm really wondering whether it's just because the game can't handle the backgrounds moving, or if it just looks that way because, I don't know, maybe the effect playing behind the trainers is just a lower frame rate. Or maybe it's all in my head, I honestly can't tell. I should probably mention at this point that for some reason a bunch of my recordings were recorded terribly. Thanks, Elgato! So occasionally you might see the odd glitch or two. Damn, even the Elgato doesn't want to play this game. Thankfully this thing sort of stopped happening around the second gym. And hey, guess what? You can sit on benches again, just like an X and Y. But unlike an X and Y, they don't offer you a new camera angle to admire the scenery or anything, so they're kinda pointless. But hey, you start the game with a fishing rod this time, so you can fish whenever you like. At these very specific designated areas. Okay. So Hop and I have another battle in front of Leon and the Professor to show him that we're ready to be endorsed for the gym challenge. Hop says, "It's time for my legend to begin!" That's Hop's voice, apparently. Hop, you're gonna go down the route of every other recent rival. Don't get your hopes up like that, buddy. Now, one thing I learned in this battle against Hop, Nick, it sucks. Real bad. Terrible attack, terrible defense. This thing's a bigger liability than my goddamn Stretcho bug. And here's that thing that babies have when they're birthed. You know how their head compresses? Hop then pretends he's How again, and 2 wishing stars fall onto the ground 5 meters away from us. The wishing stars can be turned into Dynamax wristbands so you can use the new gimmick of the game, but shit, they didn't even try this time, eh? Like, in X and Y you get the Mega Ring by battling your rival for it, because Gherkin... Really? His name was Gherkin? Okay, Gherkin only had 1, and in Sun and Moon you get your Z-Ring from a sparkling stone you receive from the legendary Pokemon Tapu Koko for saving a Cosmog. Sword and Shield? Falls from the fucking sky, are you kidding me? I just... Anyway, the Professor gives us our big boy bands, and I pressed Y to check out why there was a prompt at the bottom of my screen. So this is the Y-Com, here to replace the PSS from the 3DS games. Doesn't do a really good job of replacing it. You've got your standard trade and your wonder trade, which they renamed to surprise trade. Your normal battling mode, you can choose a picture for your profile. Not sure why you can't just pick your fucking avatar. You can't choose to look like NPCs you can pick from here online, so like... You can search up stamps, I don't actually know what that does. Oh, stamps are those stupid things that show up when you catch Pokemon and things. And swap trainer cards, which I will show off later. Now you might have realized the one thing that's missing here, and that's right, the GTS, the Global Trade System. The only place you can go looking for a level 3 Rattata to find a 4-year-old who wants a Mewtwo in exchange. Keep trying, Billy. I'm sure someday someone will fall for it. The GTS is apparently coming back via Pokemon Home, but as I said, I don't exactly have high hopes for that being a customer-friendly service. But we'll see when it comes out, I guess. It's very suspicious that they'd hold off on the GTS to roll it out with something which, at the time of recording, nobody even knows all that much about, even now that the DLC has been announced. As it stands though, there's really no need for the GTS anyway, unless you want a Pokemon from another country so you can hatch shinies more effectively. Because you won't be able to trade Pokemon from future games to Galar, there really isn't any need for it, and that's why there's no GTS. Figured it out, folks. Hop then stops us before we can head back to... Oh, I guess the Elgato doesn't want to hear it. Alright, okay, nice. Skip the boring tutorial talk, I see. Very good. Stop! Help! Next time on RadicalSoda's Pokemon Sword and Shield review, will the Elgato calm down and stop having a tantrum? Will Hop finally stop ripping off How's sick moves? Will the wild area be all that it's cracked up to be, or just make us crack up? And most importantly, will there be any more hot babes we can use for the thumbnails? Next time on RadicalSoda's Sword and Shield review!